High school was a long time ago. Hey friends and book lovers, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is an unhaul, as you probably already know. It's like a bittersweet type of video because I need to get rid of some books that I know that I'm never gonna read so that I have room for books that I either love or that I know I'm gonna love. So some of these I've read and some of these I haven't read, but I have no interest in reading anymore, or they were gifted to me and I thought I would be interested in reading them, but I'm no longer interested in reading them. So I'm just gonna give them away either to friends or family that might be wanting to read them, or just giving them away to the little libraries or anywhere that will take books. So let us see what I have in store for you all today. So this next book I've had since literally high school, and I thought, oh, it's a classic, like I should keep it, but this is not a story that I can relate to. This is not a story that I'm gonna reread, and this isn't even like a really pretty copy to have in my collection, and that is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. Salinger? I'm not really sure. But, and I can't remember either. High school was a long time ago. But I read this in high school. It's like highlighted in some parts. I think I did an essay on it. It was okay. I'm pretty sure I picked it because I had no interest in any of the other classics and this one was short. I don't think I'm gonna keep this. I don't see the point in keeping this, and maybe someone else needs to do a book report on it, could use it and put some use to it now that I don't need it. The next one I'm talking about is probably a controversial one. It was on my like worst books of 2020, and I'm just thinking I'll get rid of it to make room for other books since I won't reread this again, and I don't personally recommend it, but if anyone's interested in this, let me know. And that is Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. Now, this is a TV show, and I think the TV show is supposed to be really good, but I personally did enjoy the book. There was so many footnotes, there were so many little details, and I just felt like we didn't go anywhere, and it took me so long to read, and I was in like a little mini reading slump after reading this. So it's really not my cup of tea. It's not for me, but if you enjoyed it, you know, more power to you. I'm not gonna be keeping it. It's a mass market paperback, and I just didn't enjoy it. So this next one is one that I bought last year when I was really excited about YA, and I saw it and it was on like super sale for a couple dollars. So I thought, let me try it out. But now that I just have so many books to get through and my TBR is huge, I'm trying to narrow down the books that I really want to read and that I really want to make time for, and this just isn't one of them. And that is a series called Zodiac by Ramina Russell. I love like Zodiac-y things in my personal life, so I thought this would be a really fun foray into like a fantasy version of it, but I'm just not interested. It's very, very like YA, I think maybe even a middle grade, and I'm just not into it. So I'm gonna be giving this one away to someone who might actually enjoy it. The next one is a historical fiction that I thought I would really enjoy, but didn't. I have enjoyed some historical fictions in the past, and this was just not one of them. And that is American Rose, and it was a bestseller. It's by Karen Abbott, but it just didn't pique my interest and I couldn't really get through it, so I didn't end up finishing it. But meh, I'm just gonna give it away. I feel like I want to make more room for the books that I really love and the ones that I want to keep. So hopefully someone who loves historical fiction will really love this one and get to pick it up. This next one I did read, and I know that I enjoyed it when I read it, but I have no interest in rereading it, and so I'm just going to give it away to make room for the ones that I do want to keep. And that is Gargoyle by Andrew Davidson. This is like a fictional love story, but it's not like a romance in the traditional sense. It's more about showing how love transcends time and how these souls knew each other through years and years and through time. And it is a really interesting premise, but I remember the book kind of falling flat of that premise. So I was a little bit disappointed and my expectations weren't met in this one. So I don't see the point of ever keeping it or rereading it, even though it is a beautiful premise, and I think the writing was really easy to understand. And there is some mixed media in this too, so it's not just a straight writing, but it was okay. It was just not my cup of tea. This next one is also a historical fiction, and honestly, I've never read it. I've had it for so many years and I've just kept it with me, and then I think I found out a few years back that it's actually a sequel to another novel, and then you have to read the sequel anyway to understand this novel. So I just thought, let me just give it away. I could enjoy a romance, but I'm not gonna try to hunt the first book for this one down and see what it's all about. But I think that it was really popular when it was released a few years back, and when I say a few years, I mean many years. And that is Peony in Love by Lisa C. Now I do have a book by Lisa C that is like a historical fiction already, and that book I do want to read, but this one I have no interest in, so I'm gonna give it away. Hopefully someone who is interested in this and maybe has been looking for the sequel will find some enjoyment, but it's just, it's just not for me. And I think in this one there is some magical realism to the romance as well, because it's about like the living world and the afterworld. So there is some fantasy elements in it, but it's just not the kind of fantasy elements that would keep me really tied into the story. This next one would probably be another kind of controversial one for readers that really loved this book, and then it became a series because it was just so loved. But for me, it was just way too ridiculous, and I was really hoping that I would like the second one so that I could have, like, you know, the trilogy when the third one comes out, which I think the third one's coming out either this year or next year. But I didn't love the second one that much. It was better, but it wasn't much better, and I didn't love the first one almost at all. I just thought it was kind of ridiculous, so I don't see the point of keeping it in my collection because I don't think I'm ever going to reread it, just keeping in mind how ridiculous it was. It'll probably seem even more ridiculous to me the second time. And that is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. Now this came out and it got so much clout. Everyone loved it, and I think people still really do love it and still really are seeking to find a copy of the special editions for this were crazy too. So I'm just gonna give my copy away. Hopefully someone really does enjoy it, but I just don't think it's worth keeping when I have limited spaces on my shelves and when I know that I'm not going to reread this anyways. So I'm sorry if you loved this book. I know a lot of people really did love this book and probably would be really offended to see this go, but I just didn't love it. It was just really ridiculous. This next one is also a YA fantasy, and when I saw it, I thought the premise was really, really interesting. But now, again, as I tried to narrow down my reading list for this year and just for subsequent years, I don't think this one is going to make it. So I'm just gonna give it away to someone who might enjoy it more, and that is The Glass Spare by Lauren DeStefano. And I think when this came out, it was mildly popular, and I got it at a book outlet shop, and it's about a girl who's like the fourth daughter of the king, and she discovers that she has this magical, dangerous secret power, and this is part of a series. I think it's like an enjoyable series, kind of middle of the road, but it's not anything like to sing home about. So for me, I'd rather read the books that I'm excited for and just give this one to someone who might enjoy it. If you guys have read it and think that it's really amazing and that I should read it, then let me know, because maybe I won't give it away quite so soon. But for now, it's going in the pile. This next one I think is actually middle grade or YA. And if it is a YA, I'm pretty sure it's on the younger side. This one was given to me by a friend who had read it and loved it and wanted me to read it, but I don't want to read it, and I don't talk to that friend that often anymore anyway, so she won't know. And that is The Elegance of the Hedgehog by Muriel Barbary. I don't have any interest in reading this. I think I had mild interest in reading it when she first handed it to me, but then I read so many other books and never picked this one up, and it is just gathering dust on my shelves. I think it's about a girl that lives in Paris and has, you know, self-esteem issues, and her adventures around Paris and the friend that she meets, and how they both discover that they're, you know, they actually have like wonderful things to offer the world. So it sounds like a really wonderful and cute story. It's just not something that I'm looking forward to reading in comparison to all the other books that I have. So hopefully another young adult reader or middle grade reader lover will enjoy this story and have fun with it. So this next one is another classic that I'm unhauling. I had to read this for an assignment in school, and I just don't think I ever got to actually reading the whole thing because I didn't like the writing. I kind of thought it was boring, and it just toots its own horn as to how popular it is and how many translations it's gone through, but I honestly don't know what's so great about this book. So if anyone knows what's so great about this book, feel free to let me know, but I'm of the opinion that it's not so great. And that is The World According to Garp by John Irving. This is a classic. It's recommended to a lot of folks in school, and I don't really know why, because there are so many other better classics out there that you could read. I didn't even read this thing, so it's going. I have this problem with a lot of classics, is that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna keep it because it's a classic and you should have classics on your shelves, but I have other classics on my shelves that I do enjoy a lot more, and I'm getting rid of the ones that I just really don't want and don't see the point in. And The World According to Garp is definitely one of those that I don't really see the point in keeping. So unless there is some kind of really amazing plot later on in the book, it's just not for me. All right, so we're on to the last few books. I don't think this list is too long, but I definitely amassed a good pile before I did the video because I wanted to show a few books that I really did want to give away before actually giving them away. And this next one was also part of like my worst slash most disappointing reads of 2020, and I just thought I'm gonna get rid of this with the other pile because it is really beautiful. It is special edition, but I think someone who enjoys this story could really get a lot more use of this beautiful copy. And that is The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones. I had such high hopes for this and it didn't meet them. I think I gave it like a 3 or 2.5 stars. It's still an enjoyable read, but it's not something that I'm going to reread. And I love this cover. Like, I love these beautiful skull designs that it has on it, and it's made to look like it's this beautiful golden skull design, and I've been keeping it because I love how it looks, but realistically it's taking up space and I'm not going to reread this. So I'm going to give it to someone who I think will enjoy it and who is a younger reader than I am and that might really love this kind of more fairy tale, more relaxed, more young vibe, but it was just not for me. And the last 4 books are the Red Queen series. I do have the last 2 behind me, but I didn't want to like get them out of the shelves right now. I am keeping this one on my shelves just for now because I am waiting for another series to come in, which I'm going to replace these books with on my shelves, and that is the Ember and the Ash series. So I'm going to be replacing that series on my shelves with this one because I think I'm going to really enjoy the Ember and the Ash series a lot more. So I'm waiting for those special editions to come in, and yes, I haven't read that series, but I feel like I'm going to love it, so I'm not too mad about purchasing those special editions. But this one, I got like a bunch of these in different random editions, and they're kind of jumbled and weird, and I didn't love the series that much that I think I'm going to reread it. I have other series in YA that I love that I would reread over this one. So I'm going to donate this one maybe to a high school or something for other younger folks that might really enjoy it. Because I do think that if I was a younger reader, I would have really enjoyed this series. But since I'm an older reader and I have more expectations, this one just really didn't meet them. So I will be giving this one away. I'm sorry if this is one of your favorite series. I know back in the day on BookTube, The Red Queen was like one of the most beloved series. It's just not for me, and though it's enjoyable, it's just not one that I'm going to revisit. So someone else should get to revisit this one. So that is it for my unhaul. I don't think it's too hefty of a list, but it feels like a little bit of spring cleaning in terms of books that I've read and didn't really enjoy. I'll probably do one of these every like quarter or every 6 months, depending on how many books I have that I want to unhaul. If I have a smaller list, I might wait, but if I get a bunch more books in the next few months that I feel like I need to really unhaul, you might see another one from me. So hopefully none of these were your favorites and that you're not too offended by the books that I'm unhauling. If you have read any of these and you're like, oh my god, that's amazing, you really need to read it, and I haven't read it, let me know and maybe I'll give it a shot in the next couple months before I give these away to folks. So if you liked this video, please click the like button. If you didn't, please don't do anything. And if you like my content, please feel free to subscribe. Thank you.